Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live episode of Langer at the Mic Live. We've just had some technical difficulties, which is why it took so long to get going here with our Habs postgame show, but we're finally here, and I was a little out of it because of how dull that game was, but you know what? Now that we're live, I'm fired up to talk about this Montreal Canadiens win against the Ottawa Senators. The Canadiens beat the Habs. The Habs beat the Sens, even though the Sens were wearing their reverse retro jerseys, which was, a bit of a similarity to the game on Thursday where the Sens beat the Habs in the Habs wearing the reverse retro jerseys. But anyway, this was the least exciting win of the Canadian season so far. But guess what? Good teams have to win ugly games sometimes too. And the Habs are a good team, and they won an ugly game here, 2-1 against the Ottawa Senators. And it looked like it was going to be more of the same from Thursday night because the Habs outshot the Sens 18-8 in the first period. They gave up a tying goal after their power play goal, also a power play goal for the Sens. They had trouble beating Matt Murray early on, and they got into some penalty trouble in the second period. That was a very uneventful period. But the play of the game was Jonathan Drouin just winning the puck race off a long pass by Jeff Petrie, and then Nick Suzuki, Drouin took a shot and Suzuki whacked at the rebound that Matt Murray stopped initially, and then Josh Anderson got the third chance and was in good position for that third rebound, and that was a difference in this one. Of course, the Habs after that in the rest of the period, they seem to have employed their 2010 playoff strategy of hope Halak stops everything in the third period. But thankfully, Jake Allen was up to the challenge. He was amazing in this one again as well. And with that being said, let's get into our good and bad habits of this Montreal Canadiens win. So right from the top, let's talk about Jeff Petrie. It was Jeff Petrie who scored that power play goal, and it was great work by Corey Perry in front of Matt Murray on the screen over there. And that was Jeff Petrie's sixth goal and 14th point of the season. And what was interesting there is they took Weber off the first power play wave. It seemed to have been Petrie with, I want to say it was Tatar, Corey Perry, and Suzuki and Toffoli. So no, it wasn't Tatar. It was Drouin at the point. Anyway, Weber was taken off the first power play unit. But honestly, going back to Jeff Petrie though, great shot from the point, beating Matt Murray through that screen, and obviously he made that long pass to in the corner that Drouin beat on the puck race too, that led to the Anderson goal. And I said that Jeff Petrie played his worst game of the season on Thursday, but he bounced back to this afternoon and played one of his best games. Or he played a much better game this season. He had the goal. He was +1. He had 4 shots on net, 4 hits, 2 block shots, and he played just about 20 minutes of ice time. Call him Jeff Norris. Jeff Norris is back, and he played a really good game in this one against the Sens. And now I want to give some love again to Philip Deneau, Thomas Tatar, and Brendan Gallagher, because early on, just like last game, early on, they were the best line on the Habs by far. Like just right off the bat in the first period, they got good zone time in the Sens zone and got a couple of chances. And also there was one where Deneau took it to the net, a really nice take to the net by Philip Deneau, and Matt Murray gave a rebound as usual, but Brendan Gallagher had a stick in the air instead of on the ice and unfortunately couldn't bury that rebound. And of course, look, their entire line, they were good on the forecheck. And of course, Gallagher drew a penalty. But the only issue was, again, they just didn't have any finish. And it seems like all of their best looks ended at the center of the jersey of Matt Murray. So, yeah. So, look, at a certain point, look, Tatar, Gallagher's been putting the puck in the net, but Deneau hasn't scored yet. And Tatar has been struggling to put the puck in the net these last couple of games. But I'm sure they'll be fine throughout the rest of the season. Gallagher did take a rare penalty in the second period for hooking Nick Paul in the back check. And honestly, they faltered. That line did falter a little bit in the third in terms of puck possession in the offensive zone, but still Philip Deneau was amazing on the penalty kill. He was awesome in the faceoff circle. He won 12 faceoffs. Deneau, by the way, led in terms of ice time among all 4 centers on the Canadiens. So he's still very valuable in his contract here. And everyone talking about wanting to trade Philip Deneau, like if you're going to do that, like in this year, even though it's his contract year, you're going to have to get something good in return. You're going to have to get like that valuable shutdown center that can win faceoffs in return, because that's what Danault proved in this game is that he's still more than capable of playing at that very high level defensively and in terms of taking faceoffs. And I want to talk about Jonathan Drouin here because I think Jonathan Drouin was one of the best forwards on the Montreal Canadiens in this one because, you know, it was interesting. He took the faceoff on the power play, I think the one that led to the Petrie goal. And also he set up some really nice plays on the power play as well, down low to Corey Perry, but obviously Matt Murray made a nice save there, talking about a play in the first period. And he also made a really nice play in the neutral zone, weaving through traffic, weaving through a couple of Ottawa Senators. And also, I just find, look, there was a play before the Petrie goal also where he had a wide open net, but his stick was in the air. I think his stick was tied up, but the puck got lost in his skate. So unfortunately, he missed that chance. But then again, obviously, Petrie scored right after. But Jonathan Drouin was part of the play of the game where he beat out. I don't know if it was going to be icing on that Petrie pass, but he beat out that play and took a nice shot at, or took a good take to the net and create a rebound off his chance on Matt Murray, which again Suzuki had a whack at. Murray stopped that, but he didn't stop Josh Anderson, who scored the game-winning goal. So I just find, look, Drouin is just so good at setting up his line mates, so good at weaving through traffic with the puck on his stick. So much good when he has time and space. And I find this year he is much better in terms of positioning on the forecheck to be able to intercept passes. And I also find that he's just playing with a lot more effort this year than we've seen in the past. So just really, like, Jonathan Drouin has just been phenomenal this season so far. The only knock on him is that he just doesn't shoot enough. And when he does, he just doesn't finish. So look, I mean, he hasn't scored that many goals the last couple of years, but he's been at a consistent 50-point pace, you know, since his time as a Montreal Canadian, except for maybe the back half of last year. But yeah, just Jonathan Drouin continued to play awesome in this one. And then Josh Anderson, of course, I found this was a bit of a quieter game for Josh Anderson, but again, he made the most important play of the game, where he just buried that rebound on Matt Murray, 3 times a charm. What's it called? The only knock on Josh Anderson, I find, like, he's been phenomenal. I think it was like his 8th goal of the season so far. So I think it's pretty safe to say that the Habs won Domi trade so far. But the only knock I find on Josh Anderson is that he does fall a lot for someone that's 6'3" and over 220 pounds. Like, I find just I'm not to say that he gets knocked off the puck a lot, not to say that he's not fast and that he doesn't finish his hits and plays hard, doesn't score goals. But again, just nitpicking I'm just thinking back to this very particular play in the first period. But besides that, a quiet game, but again, Josh Anderson made the most important play of the game, and that's why he is a good Habit after this one. And of course, Nick Suzuki on that line, you know, through the first 2 periods, I was almost going to say that I don't know if Nick Suzuki through these last game was his worst game as a Hab in 2021 for Nick Suzuki, and he was much better in this game. But I still don't know, at least through 2 periods, whether he was as good as he was in the first 10 games. And obviously, he took that really dirty hit in the corner from Mike Riley in the first period. To me, if you're going to call Tatar for boarding, I said this on Twitter, if you're going to call Tatar for boarding on Thursday's game, you got to call Mike Riley for boarding on that play as well. But you know what? I found Nick Suzuki just took it to another level in the third period. He even made a really nice play on the penalty kill in the second, where he found Toffoli. He created a turnover on the penalty kill, found Toffoli in front, but the puck just bounced over his stick. But again, like, Suzuki took it to another level in the third period, and he made the key plays that mattered most. Of course, got the assist on that Anderson goal. He also drew a penalty on the Senators while forechecking on the power play, or on the Sens power play in the third period. The one that where Ben Sherratt took a dumb penalty. I'll get to that in a bit. And he also, of course, look, like Matt Cowan is commenting here, like, yeah, Nick Suzuki won the most important faceoff of the game, but he needs to win faceoffs more consistently, of course. That continues to be a struggle for him. But again, credit to Nick Suzuki for winning the biggest faceoff of the game with like 3 seconds left. Sens obviously 1-goal game. They're on the power play. Yeah, they're on the power play, and they had the net empty, so it was a 6-on-4. Nick Suzuki won that faceoff, and that was basically the game there. Next good Habit, who other than Jake Allen, man. He made great saves on the penalty kill in the first. Obviously, look, he gave up that goal off it. It was a turnover. The Habs were trying to rim it, clear it by rimming it, which the Sens, I think it was either Stepan or Norris, they blocked the clearing attempt and passed it back in front, and then it made its way to Colin White, and he just slid it past Jake Allen 5-hole. But besides that, like, what really stood out to me is early on in the second period, Jake Allen like really saved the day with a nice save that just calmed everything down, because the Habs were stuck in their zone for a long period of time. Early in the second, it was the second or third shift of the second period, and Jake Allen made a really nice save and held on to the rebound and ended that whole chance to the Sens. And of course, he made even more big saves in the third period when the Sens were peppering the Habs with chances. I find like Jake Allen is so good in terms of controlling rebounds, not so much with his pads, but it's more so pucks that find its ways underneath his arm. He's just so good at, controlling rebounds that stay within his chest area, like especially underneath his arm. And he made a huge, huge save late in the third period. Again, Sens have the net empty, and there's a whole big mess in front of him, in front of Jake Allen in the third period. It was a shot from the point that he just tracked beautifully, stuck right to his chest, and gave the Habs a nice chance to breathe there late in the game. And speaking of goaltending now, the Habs have a bit of a goaltending paradox, though, because obviously Jake Allen has been a phenomenal acquisition by Marc Bergevin to come in and give more games off for Carey Price. But right now, I think we're seeing something where Jake Allen plays at his best when he's not playing 60 games a season, a 60-game pace in an 82-game season. He plays really, really well when he's playing, let's say, half the games. But Carey Price, on the other hand, he obviously can't play, he wears down when he plays 70 games at this point in his career, or 65, 70 games at this point in his career. But also he might need to play more at a 55 game a year pace right now, because maybe I just find maybe it's the time off that's also making him not as sharp. I'm talking about Carey Price, of course. And look, Carey Price, of course, as you could see, one of my favorite goalies, but to be completely honest, I said this on Twitter, I'll say it again here, Jake Allen has to be in nets against the Leafs on Wednesday night, because, just right now with the way Jake Allen is playing, he's playing better than Price. Not to say Price is playing bad. He's playing okay, maybe good, but Jake Allen is playing really, really, really well. And I think Jake Allen right now gives the Habs the best chance of getting 2 points against the other top team in the North Division. So, and you have the rest of the season to deal with Carey Price's confidence and getting him more games. So I'm not saying Carey Price can't bounce back, but just right now, Jake Allen needs to be in net against the Leafs on Wednesday, and I would put Price, of course, back in net on against the Oilers on Thursday. But I would, if I'm Claude Julien, the coaching staff, I kind of rethink the way they rotate their goalies from here on out throughout the rest of the season. Still give Price a workload that he can be good with, right, but not too much, and then put Jake Allen in at the right place at the right time. So anyway, that's with that being said, let's turn into a little bit of bad habits in this one, and there were a good few, even though the Habs won, because obviously this was a very ugly game. And I feel like I want to start with the fourth line here. This was, look, specifically Paul Byron, because Lehkonen and Evans were really, really good on the PK. Arturi Lehkonen, look, he created turnovers as usual that led to chances. The Habs, of course, are one of the best, probably one, I don't know of many other teams across any other of the last 20 seasons that are as good at creating as much, pressure on the forecheck, on the penalty kill. It's a very particular and very specific part of the Habs game right now that is really, really good, but I can't think of, many other teams that are this good as the Habs at creating pressure on the forecheck, on the penalty kill. But so yeah, Lehkonen, great job on the forecheck, and also Jake Evans did a heck of a play blocking a shot on a PK in the second period, excuse me. But to me, though, as a line, this was one of their toughest games at even strength, because especially in the third period, I mean, kind of like all the other lines, but particularly the fourth line, they got hemmed in their zone by the Sens in the third period. And Paul Byron, coming back to Byron, he was invisible in this one, honestly. I mean, he did have 3 hits, but the fact that he had zeros on the score sheet besides that in about roughly, I think he played about 11, 12 minutes for a $3.4 million cap hit. I know he's your assistant captain, but I think Paul Byron right now, with the way he played in this game, is the most replaceable player in the lineup. if and when Yoel Armia comes back, and maybe also when Cole Caulfield comes back because, or gets his NHL debut. Obviously, Cole Caulfield tearing up in Wisconsin right now in the NCAA, a good favorite for the Hobey Baker Award. But to me, if you're gonna put Cole Caulfield in the lineup when he's eligible, you got to take someone out. And Paul Byron, I was talking about this on Twitter early on today, and I was saying, you can't take out Paul Byron that easily as an assistant captain and his $3.4 million cap hit. But if he plays like he did tonight, well, maybe you could. Another thing that I'm gonna kind of rant a little bit about here, of course, is headshots. Because look, to be fair though, of the Yoel Armia, of the Jesperi Kotkaniemi, Dylan Dubé on Kotkaniemi, and Tyler Myers on Yoel Armia, now Goodbranson on Jake Evans. This was probably the least dirty head hit that the Habs have suffered of those three. And Evans was thankfully okay. But to me, if it's a rule in the NHL that you're not allowed to hit someone in the head, just bloody enforce the darn rule, the same way that if you can say that putting the puck in the stands is a penalty from your own zone, if you put the puck in the stands, whether it's by accident or not, black and white, that's a penalty, then you could do the same thing with headshots and high hits. Because the same way the NFL reinforces their roughing the passer, okay, maybe not to that extent of the NFL, but still, look, if you're going to call every single high hit, you're going to call some penalties that should maybe not have been called if you look at the replays of the penalties that you call in those situations. But at least you're going to be protecting the players, and chances are you're going to get more calls right than you will wrong, and it will teach players to not hit high, whether it's with their elbow, whether it's with their shoulders. It will teach players to not hit players high in the head, and that's what you want. So bottom line is just enforce the mother effing rule. I'm not going to swear on my channel here, but yeah, just enforce the rule, and even if you're going to miss some calls, which you will, but better to miss. You're probably going to get more right than wrong. And just again, if it's a rule, enforce it. Now, face-offs, real quick. Couple more bad habits here. Obviously, look, the Sens in these two games, the Sens were 57% in the face-off circle in this one. Again, the Habs won the face-offs that mattered, but over the course of a hockey game, you got to be able to win more face-offs, especially considering the Habs are playing the Leafs on Wednesday. They're a good face-off team, and if the Habs are going to start without the puck, especially in their own zone against what the Leafs have at forward, Austin Matthews, Nylander, and Marner, and Tavares, of course, well, you're going to be in trouble. So face-offs need to be better. Now I'm going to get into some discipline. We were talking a lot about the Habs in discipline at the beginning of the season, and in this game, discipline was a factor as well, because to me, there's no reason why you should be high-sticking players left and right in the face like Jake Evans did, and also Kulak did have a high stick on Stützle, but in Kulak's defense, Stützle high-sticked himself because he lifted Kulak's stick into his own face. And but then Ben Sherratt, man, those two penalties are inexcusable. Friggin' tackling Brady Tkachuk in the corner. I don't care how much of a douche Brady Tkachuk is, and Brady Tkachuk, of course, was mixing it up with Weber and Sherratt over the course of the game, and he'll continue to do that. But you can't allow that type of player to bait you into a penalty like that. Just make the right play. Don't tackle him in the corner. And then, of course, don't cross-check Tim Stützle in the face like that, like you did in a one-goal game with 30 seconds left or whatever it was. Just those, whether you call it selfish or undisciplined or just plain stupid, can happen, Ben Sherratt. But that being said, Ben Sherratt did have a solid game outside of that. He played 24 minutes and, was obviously the force with Shea Weber. So look, Sherratt, besides that, just played a strong game. Just don't take dumb penalties. And the Habs were good on the PK. They killed off 5 out of the 6 power plays that the Senators had. But again, the discipline still needs to be better than which it has been since the start of the season. But in this game, it wasn't. And then last but not least, in terms of my bad habits, the team defense in a 1-goal game, because I feel like, look, the Habs, they dominated the first period. They outshot the Sens, obviously 18-8. They were okay in the second period. A lot of that, I think, had to do more with the penalties. But in the third period, they all of a sudden were just sloppy, man. They were just turning pucks over. They couldn't break out of their own zone. They got outshot 14-6 by the Ottawa Senators in the third period. And which to me, again, was employing the strategy from the 2010 playoffs of just hope Halak stops everything. And thankfully, Jake Allen did stop everything. And also, thankfully, Tyler Toffoli, who had more chances in this game than he did on Thursday. came up with a great defensive play late to clear the zone, and that, killed time for the Sens to get a chance to tie it up late. And also that's something that Michael Ryder would have been challenged with, to make a great defensive play like that. Tyler Toffoli is more reliable in his own zone than Michael Ryder is. So again, stop the Michael Ryder, Tyler Toffoli comparisons. And of course, Nick Suzuki won the most important faceoff that he took all night, and the most important faceoff of the game. So they did what they had to do to win. But against teams like the Toronto Maple Leafs, I don't know if the hang on hockey or that, make Allen or Price stop everything strategy is going to work in the third period of a 1-goal game. Now, I know we've been at it for over 20 minutes here, but last but not least, I do want to talk a little bit about Jesperi Kotkaniemi here. I'm not saying he played well, not saying he played bad, but to me, he just needs to at some point, he needs to be burying his chances, because let's be clear, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, he's 20 years old. He's great at passing. He's great at forcing turnovers. He's can be relied on in his own zone. But at a certain point, when he creates a turnover and has a perfect prime chance to shoot with the puck in the slot, time and space to let off a good shot and bury one, he needs to start burying those, like he did in the first period, of course, and he continued to create turnovers in this game. He also set up Corey Perry with a nice chance in the first, and Perry just missed the net. But again, Jesperi Kotkaniemi played just around 10 minutes tonight, and he is still only 20 years old, like I said, but it would be nice to see him progress. Like, he has to progress at a certain point. So I'm not going to be too impatient here, but at a certain point, I'd like to see Jesperi Kotkaniemi, getting assists all day, sure, but also getting a few goals when he has the chance to do so. But yeah, like I said, look, there was a whole lot of nothing in this game. And the Habs, being a good team, they won this type of game, which good teams have to do every now and then, and this game could have really gone either way. But the Habs, credit to the Canadiens for, even though they didn't play their best, they did what they had to do to win. And bring on the Leafs Wednesday night, and bring on the Super Bowl tomorrow. And that's all we have here on this Saturday afternoon Langer at the Mike Habs postgame show. As usual, if you enjoy my commentary, give me a big thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to my channel. Give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Mike Langer if you want to see more workout videos and mental health videos and all that. I'll include the handle in the description below. I just did a really nice couple of sprints outside my condo this morning, so you can check that out. But thank you so much for watching this episode of Langer at the Mike live Habs postgame show, and I look forward to see you again next time.